Hey guys, okay, so now I'll show you another dungeon. This is the one that I mentioned in the call. It's the one that divides the dungeon story itself into three parts. And immediately when I go in, you'll hear a voiceover. And then that voiceover is like one of the characters of the story telling you what this dungeon is. Basically, it's like you're reliving through the memories of dead worlds, and you're understanding why these worlds killed themselves. The first one, I think they had like a huge plague that happened because of pollution. The second one killed themselves through like war and some AI robot that they created for peace, but then it went rogue. And then the third one is like more philosophical. It's people who basically achieved like immortality and created a mini heaven on Earth, but then they realized that they have like that. It's not the Fermi paradox, but the curse of immortality, as they call it, where the only thing they wished for was their mortality. So they made this being that gently kills them. It's really depressing, but it shows you like the idea here is that despair and hope are two sides of a coin, and when worlds succumb to despair, this is what happens to them. However, they cannot truly eliminate sorrow or despair or any of that. They have to live side by side with it through the use of hope. That's kind of what the game's trying to tell you by experiencing the tragedy of these worlds. Is that no, they tried to eradicate and reach for perfection, and then it kind of led to a dystopic outcome. I'm just telling you this so you can see like you're supposed to feel this again through the story, but you have so much context, like I don't know, 100 hours of context, hundreds of hours of context before this. So I'm just kind of telling you about it quickly without trying to be spoilery. Anyways, let's just dive into the dungeon.
So you are finally here, in this place between death and rebirth, where life knows no dawn. Come then. Follow me down into the darkest depths of despair.
So this is the first world. Again, this is supposed to be played by 4 people, but it's just me, and I'm playing as my
Once upon a
main
time,
hero class.
there was a beautiful blue star that fell to pestilence and rotted inside and out.
You can even show you like their sky is corrupt and it's really, really dark and gloomy. So even here, all their water, it's basically a water planet, right? Where the creatures supposedly live underwater and they have these underwater cities. But then you'll see in the story what happened to them. Basically, look, now if I step on the water, it's even toxic. And if I stay at it too long, it gives me a debuff that makes me lose my health, like damage over time. All these are just environmental things they add to make you actually feel the effects of this world you're in, like it's toxic, stuff like that. And they have like dead models of the people that used to live here, or like the species that lives here. See? And just like the other dungeon, it's just 3 parts of like these corridors. But again, you don't feel them as you're playing through the dungeon. Oh, another thing I should mention, as you're playing through the dungeon, you don't have this map. It only unlocks after you finish the dungeon. So you're kind of going in blind and exploring. So okay, let's start. Yeah, some of them that are still alive, you'll see them here just talking like this. If you walk next to them, they'll have some stuff to say.
The more its people clung to life, the more they suffered.
So these used to be like them after they, but sometimes the flesh warps them and then they become like this. So this is a healer class. It's not meant to be like, fighting up close, so we're gonna be seeing a lot of lasers. But it's a really cool class. Show you some of the environment. Look at that. Oh, and this is something that's really cool. So a lot of times when a new player is doing the dungeon for the first time, the other three will stop here and they'll let them read this because this tells you about the story. It's like an interactable item. So this is even a way for them to quickly give you the history of the dungeon. And it's completely optional. So if you want to know more about the story, you can come through it. If you just want to go through the dungeon quickly, you can completely ignore this. But since Final Fantasy is a story-based game, everyone here, all the players love the story. Oh, one more thing. So this is the enemy's health bar, right? You see here, they have a debuff that even tells the story a little bit. Plagued, it's called. Toxic miasma is working the flesh. So even these little details that they add sometime, they also help in telling the story. It's like this just used to be one of these, little features here. And because of the disease, this is what happened to them. So you know, what you're fighting or why you're fighting. It's just not some random enemy that appears. And again, something that Final Fantasy does really well is, at least Final Fantasy XIV, is the concept of a leitmotif in music. So the song you're hearing behind as well, it's the rendition of a song that plays throughout the expansion in different formats. But in this format, it's more depressing and sad and kind of somber, telling you the story of how this world came to end.
Until they curse not the illness, but their fellow corrupted.
I'll show you what this original song sounds like the first time you hear it. Let me just show you a little bit more of this place. This is like one of their homes, I think. Yeah. So you see all the enemies, they'll have the same debuff. Plague. Oh, and even this little bubble hill tells you the weather. And look at what they put as the weather here. Again, they're trying to hammer in that point that if you try and eradicate despair and sorrow from your world completely, it's inevitable that you will cause something like this. And remember that this is supposed to be like an action-filled dungeon sequence, right? I can only do it myself right now because I'm over-leveled, but if I was at the level of the dungeon, you know, the time you're supposed to do it, they would kill me in like one hit. You're supposed to do this with 4 people. So there's the chaos of 4 people trying to fight these things at the same time, and you're just trying to stay alive while you're also being told the story. Yeah, here they have another one of those like written lore pieces of what happened here. And then this is going to be the first boss. Even the ways the boss fights you, by the way, or the boss mechanics, they have something to do with the story. So I'll tell you this guy's boss mechanic. The plague that's happening, he's basically now trying to kill you using that plague. And he'll have like a wind blowing and he'll create like balls of the plague. And if it hits you, you'll end up dying and warping and becoming them. Unless a healer, like me, can heal you out of it. So it's more effective if there's like 3 other players who are not healers, and only the healer has to be able to take care of everyone if they get hit. Anyways, let me show you.
Those who live to be tested. Those who die decayed.
Yeah, so it tells you a north wind begins to blow, so the wind is blowing this way. And now he's gonna spawn, yep. So you basically have to dodge them once. And then after they explode, dodge them again. Because the wind is gonna be carrying them forward. Oh, I got hit. So now that I got hit, I have to cure myself. And if I didn't do that, I would have died. Even shows like the heartbeat thing, it's like, oh, okay, now you're about to die. And you can hear like craven companionship that thing is saying. It's like trying to tell you that they're still trapped inside that. So again, the point is they're also just trying to use the mechanics to tell the story. I didn't dodge that last time. Oh, by the way, these markers are indications of really heavy attack. So the first red one is called a tank buster, and it's supposed to be an attack that just almost destroys the tank if they don't react. The yellow one was like, okay, the entire team needs to stand here together to absorb that hit. And then that last one was the pink one, everyone's gonna get hit with this at the same time. So these are like little indications the game gives you so you know when to heal, how to react. But they only do these for like this level of difficulty. At higher difficulties, you don't get that luxury. Because this is just supposed to be something that guides you through the story, right? So they don't make it that hard in terms of gameplay. But even then, it's pretty challenging. Okay, south wind, bro. So now the wind is gonna come from the opposite direction, so I have to dodge by running north. Oh, got it already. Oh no, that's good. There we go. So whenever these come, I just put a shield on myself in order I can absorb it. Yep. And just another shield. More shield actually. There we go. Awesome. Okay, now on to the second world, or, you know, the next part of the story.
And the very last of them wished they had never been born at all.
Even the name of the place, Judgment Day. So this is also like another war-torn AI future where
In a
like humans are
faraway
fighting
place,
stuff.
a brilliant star eradicated disease. Before destroying the self-same lives it had saved.
Oh, by the way, this dungeon is interesting because as you're fighting, this global citizen, who's like a warrior fighting for freedom or something, you'll see him in the background. So as you and your team, like the other three players, are fighting through, he will be dodging bullets, fighting with you, because he's gonna do something at the end. So it's like you're witnessing his story as yours is also playing out. I'll try and always keep him in the camera so you can see where he is. And he just goes and hides from spot to spot, okay. And he's trying to kill that thing in the background. You'll see what it is in a moment. Get rid of these guys. And obviously you have to keep dodging attacks from that thing that's launching rockets, plus these guys while you're playing. Global citizen, yep. So whenever you reach, that's when he... Oh, notice what he said, if I can reach the terminal. Like whenever you advance, he also advances in terms of story. Okay, so now we have to kill these in order to see what's going to happen with him and destroy.
Its people sought ever greater freedoms no matter the cost.
Yep, American style. Oh boy, okay. And yeah, here's another one of those like lore explainers. Just like in the previous dungeon, you can see like the war aesthetic or the devastation aesthetic that they're trying to bring through. Let's see if I can speed this up a little.
They tried to buy peace with fire and steel.
You can even see like dead bodies here and there of the fighters. And they made it very simple that there's like both sides of this. There's the freedom fighters and there's the global citizens, or I can't remember their names. But yeah, it's like they ended up in a war, and then they both sides ended up essentially dying from. Yeah, global community. Okay, yeah, there we go. So now I'm fighting someone with you see? Yeah, freedom fighters. Oh yeah, and usually there's a wall, like, so only after you kill them does a random rocket strike happen and clears the way for you. Okay, now I have to do the boss fight, which is that thing which was launching the rockets this whole time. And after it, you'll see what happened with the global citizens that we were following from the beginning. Yeah, this telling you what that thing is. It's actually, the thing we're about to fight is called the Peacekeeper. I think that was it, right? Yeah. And you can see here next to the Peacekeeper how there's so many bodies literally. They all tried to stop the Peacekeeper units, but couldn't. It's all around. Yeah, that was a big one. Come on. Sometimes I actually need to get hit so it breaks my shield, so it gives me a more powerful attack. So remember what those little communication things said about the story? That this is just one unit, right? And it caused all this damage. There's 10,000 of these. And they basically destroyed the whole world. So that global citizen, he's trying to stop them, but he doesn't know how. And remember what he said before, he's like, if I could just reach the terminus. They tell you these things so you keep them in the back of your mind. Okay. So now we killed that peacekeeper. Let's see what's going to happen with the global
And when
citizen.
one asked, what is the point? There were none left to answer.
And then this is how this world ends. Out of desperation, he basically uses nukes or something like that. But it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, show, don't tell. So epic. Then this is the last world. Look at that. Very beautiful.
Father still existed a star without strife. Where none remembered life's trials or its joys.
This is the one where I told you, like, they basically achieved immortality and created a perfect quote-unquote world. When you try and talk to them, but Allah is that thing that, like, kills them. So by the way, apparently they like engineered these creatures or something to kill them in a gently way. So it's not like this is a plague or something, or that these creatures came from a random place. So the poor bird they're talking about is this Meteon bird, the one that's guiding us through this dungeon. Or not dungeon, I should say, like these worlds.
What its people had gained from ease, they lost tactically.
Again, what's cool about these dungeons is the story exploration is optional. So unless I walk next to them, you won't hear what they're saying, right? You can just quickly go for the fights and try and finish them as quickly as possible. They make this because sometimes you have to play these dungeons a bunch of times to, you know, get certain rewards or just to help other players finish it for the first time. But it's also just, the game encourages you to like do this little exploration. Even though, again, if you look at the map, it's also a straight line. Like, very little deviation from what you actually, the area that the player actually makes. So they never make like open world stuff, kind of like how we were talking about in the call. Oh yeah, there's another one of those messages. I don't know why, but I'm blanking out on the philosophical concept that this is called. Like, there's a name for this philosophical concept of trying to reach for immortality and then reaching it and then just wanting to like end your life. I'm really forgetting it. Anyways, it's the idea that's at play here.
So they created the kindest, most gentle of beasts. Its steps were light, and its gift was as painless as it was beautiful. Bathed in its golden glow, they all slept happily ever after.
Okay, that's it. So you kind of notice, by the way, they use the same dungeon structure they've been using for like over a decade. 3 bosses, area to explore, but they always try to tell a story here, and it's usually like a big important point of the story where they're trying to convey something huge to the player. So I think the concept of dungeons, is definitely something we can use. Oh, this is how the world actually looks like. So all the stuff that happened before, again, you're kind of like you're living through a memory. And yeah, that's it. We can get out of here now.